The G7 summit kicked off today in Alberta, Canada, marking the first time Donald has set foot on Canadian soil since he publicly suggested the country should become America's 51st state. Not surprisingly, Canada is less than thrilled to host him. Leaders from the US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and other allies are gathering in order to address urgent global challenges, including the war in Ukraine and the fragile state of the world economy, which Donald Trump has done everything in his power to undermine and continues to undermine. And on day one, Donald came out swinging, limply, of course, but swinging nonetheless, defending Russia and blaming its full scale invasion of Ukraine on Democrats. Watch this.
The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot.
Wow, Donald was loud about something. That's shocking. By the way, the reason there wouldn't have been a war if Donald had gotten back into office in 2021 is because he just would have handed Ukraine over to Russia without any qualms whatsoever. Now, this year's summit is expected to center around support for Ukraine, as it should. And a reminder, the G7 expelled Russia in 2014 after it annexed Crimea, which is to say, after it illegally stole territory from Ukraine, a sovereign democratic nation. So, why is Donald kicking things off by defending a known aggressor? That's sort of a rhetorical question. He went even further, bragging about his friendship with Vladimir Putin and implying that he, Donald, could be the one to get through to him. Take a look.
Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk, because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And, I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it, I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out, and I agree with him.
Oh, wow. Donald Trump agrees with Vladimir Putin. Day ending in Y. Although I do take issue with the fact that Donald thinks that Vladimir Putin only talks to him. And what is this anyway? Donald is groveling to Putin during the G7 summit. I mean, does he really need another venue in which to grovel to Vladimir Putin? What's behind this? Now, listen, for 2 years, G7 leaders have coordinated sanctions against Russia because it's illegal aggressions against a sovereign nation. This year, analysts say the summit's success depends entirely on Donald's mood swings, which is not exactly reassuring. Let's not forget, back in 2018, Donald threw a temper tantrum at the G7 when he demanded again they let Russia back in and stormed out when they refused. This viral photo captured the moment perfectly. That is Angela Merkel towering over a sulking Donald whose arms are crossed like he's a scolded child, because he is. According to the New York Times, Canadian officials have already given up hope for a joint communique, the standard closing message of unity, because with Donald involved, unity is off the table. Well, that means that it is the United States of America that is the outlier among our, well, what used to be our allies. Now, we know that Putin is not Donald's friends. We know that Putin is using Donald, as he has been for decades, to get his own agenda pushed through. He doesn't have respect for Donald Trump. Nobody has respect for Donald Trump. So this is yet another opportunity that Donald is taking to weaken the United States of America in the eyes of our allies and to make it clear that the United States is no longer a leader among democracies. Before we go on, we are not corporate media here at Mary Trump Media. We don't bend the knee. We are not now, and we never will be for sale. So please like and share our videos. And if you support our mission, please subscribe to our channel. While representing America at a summit meant to project strength and unity, Donald is doing exactly the opposite. In front of the world's top leaders, he launched into a bizarre attack on sanctuary cities, openly trashing U.S. officials in a desperate bid to score domestic political points. Watch.
Why are you ordering ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor. But the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
That's it. Thank you.
If you don't mind,
Yes.
I'm going to exercise my role,
Yes.
if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So,
Thank you.
mess
Thank you. Thank you, media.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about why we're there, not give Donald yet another platform to keep spreading his disinformation. Because Carney knew exactly what was happening. Donald was turning an international forum into a soapbox for propaganda. So, luckily, Carney jumped in, ended the questioning before Donald could do any more damage, not just to himself and our country, but to the entire summit. Donald, of course, just stood there sulking like a petulant child, clearly unhappy that someone had stopped his rant. Okay. Donald Trump is severely weakened after the debacle of this weekend between his pathetic military parade and the resounding success of the No Kings protests. So he's feeling that, and he is going to continue to lash out by upping the ante and going after so-called sanctuary cities, which are mostly blue cities and mostly blue states. Now, I live in one of those blue cities, and the picture Donald Trump is painting of cities like New York and Chicago and Los Angeles is completely a fabrication of his depraved little mind. So don't listen to a word this man says. Just actually look at what is happening. In cities like New York, we are united in our ability and willingness to protect immigrants and undocumented workers. There is nothing going on here that would require any intervention from the federal government. And the more we allow Donald Trump, the more right-wing media allows Donald Trump to continue lying about what's really going on, the less credibility he is going to have on the world stage, which is a problem because there are a lot of very serious things going on that need to be dealt with seriously. Meanwhile, in Boston, as Donald stumbles through his, well, I can't really call them diplomatic efforts, but stumbles through his pathetic performance in Alberta, Canadian premiers are taking matters into their own hands. In Boston, several Canadian leaders met with U.S. governors in a quiet but serious effort to salvage Canada-U.S. relations. Ontario Premier Doug Ford told CNN that American officials are quite worried. Canadian tourism is plummeting. Why? Well, Ford didn't mince words because he usually doesn't. It's because of Donald.
Well, as we talk to the governors, a lot of governors are saying it's insulting. It's insulting to your closest friend and allies. We love the U.S. I love the U.S. Canadians love Americans. there's one person that is causing this issue, and that's President Trump. Hopefully he'll take another avenue and start mending fences. Because right now, as the governor's told us here, they're seeing a drastic decline in Canadian tourism.
Once again, it's Donald's reckless rhetoric, which, by the way, is only in service to protecting his own pathetic little ego, is hurting the economy. What he calls tough talk is just undermining our relationships with other nations and having a severe negative impact on revenue coming into this country from other countries. CNN's Harry Enton broke it down further, explaining how Donald's hostility is directly impacting the Canadian-American Trade Alliance and where those losses are already showing up.
Canadians are reducing reliance on the U.S. as a trade partner. Look at this. 91% say that, yes, that they, in fact, that Canadians should, in fact, reduce reliance on the U.S. as a trade partner. You never see numbers that high. I'm laughing because it's just unprecedented compared to just 9% who disagree. 9%, that's about the percentage of Americans who believe we faked the moon landing. When you're in this territory, you know that we're in a lot of trouble. Donald Trump's in a lot of trouble when it comes to Canadians' views on him.
But that's exactly as it should be. Because America, or I should say a significant minority of Americans, thought it was a good idea to put Donald Trump back into the Oval Office, and because of his dangerous policies, especially in the context of the world economy and world trade, we deserve this. And Canada deserves to protect itself from us, just as Canada and Canadians deserve the right not to spend their money here. This is what Donald does. He doesn't just alienate our allies. He attacks our own cities. He praises dictators. He sabotages diplomacy. He throws tantrums and tells lies. And the world is watching. Let's be very clear here. America needs global cooperation more than ever. But Donald is making enemies faster than we can count them. And he's turning our closest partners into our adversaries while forcing them to find other alliances that benefit countries like China. The G7 should be a chance for America to lead. Instead, Donald is just using it as another opportunity to attack. And this is something we need to pay very close attention to. The worse numbers get for Donald Trump, the more he realizes that he is underwater in almost every single category in which polls are being taken, the worse it's going to get, because his sole purpose will continue to be going after those of us who will no longer stand for his horrific and dangerous so-called leadership. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.